Have you ever gone to hit the toms and it sounds something like this? In today's video, I'm going to show you how I go about tuning my toms using the TuneBot, and also a few other tips that you might need if you're tuning your drums as well. So if that's interesting to you, hit the subscribe button and let's get started tuning the toms. First thing you'll notice is I'm in the corner of this bedroom, which is not ideal for tuning the drums. So the first thing I'm going to do is take the rack tom and take the floor tom, separate them from the rest of the kit. I'm going to put these out in the middle of the carpet and tune them there, just so I have some more space to work with. If you have seen my other video of how to tune your snare drum and also how to tune your kick drum, you'll kind of know the process of what I'm about to do. But just in case you haven't seen it, let me go over real quick. Whenever I have a new drum head, first thing I'll do is I'll take a permanent marker and I'll mark off all of the lugs. So this drum right here has 6 lugs. I want to use a star pattern when I'm going about numbering them, but I actually written out the numbers here. So the first lug is 1. Then I go across to get 2. Then I go up here for 3, 4, 5, and 6. So just in case you want to follow that star pattern, make sure you're always going across as much as possible. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then 6. Okay, so whenever I'm going around tuning the drum, I don't even have to think too much about it. I just know this is 1. After 1 comes 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Same thing is true of this floor tom. This floor tom has 6 lugs, and I have the numbered 1 through 6 going in the star pattern as well. And then if I find a tuning that I really like using the TuneBot, I will write next to the number 1 lug, I have written out the frequency or the hertz that I used on the TuneBot. So if you have your favorite settings, just go ahead and write them out. That way, whenever you're tuning, you don't have to think too much about it. I do have some new drum heads that I could be putting on these, but these drum heads are just fine. But whenever we've got coated heads, what I'm looking for is on the batter side, whenever I see the chips start forming, whenever that coat starts to peel off, that's when I'm gonna replace the drum heads. But anything before that, I'm just fine. I really don't play that hard at all, especially in a recording setting. You'd be surprised at how little or how light you have to play these things. Okay, so on the rack tom, I have written out A2 is the note that I'm going for, and I have a 146 and 220, meaning I'm gonna tune the batter side to 146 hertz. I'm gonna tune the reso side to 220, okay? On this floor tom, I'm gonna go for the note F, and I've got 134 and 176. So 134 on top, 176 on the bottom. I've got this one up on the drum throne just for you to see it in the camera easy, but if you have carpet or you have a rug, that'll work just fine as well. You just want to make sure that whenever you're tuning one of the heads of the drum, you don't want the other side to be resonating, because then you're hearing both sides of the drum and even the TuneBot can get confused. So speaking of the TuneBot, some tools I want to have handy are the TuneBot. I'll have a couple of drumsticks nearby. And then in my other pocket, I've got my tuning key, okay? Pretty much everything I need. I'm gonna flip this floor tom over just so we don't hear all that resonance. Now, let's start with the bottom head. So I'm gonna flip this over. There's nothing inside of this drum. If you can see that, it's empty here. We're just gonna take all these lugs and take them off completely so we can start fresh. I make a lot of TuneBot videos on this channel, but honestly, I just want to let you know I'm not sponsored by TuneBot. I had to pay for this TuneBot with my own money a few years ago, but I like it so much. It's so easy. I use it all the time, but I also know you can be confused with all the frequencies and stuff. So hopefully these videos help out as well. Please hit the subscribe button. It's probably the best thing you can do at this time, and I appreciate it. Okay, now that the batter side head is off, I see there's a bunch of dust collecting just just along the rim here. So I'm gonna rub my finger around, just make sure it clears off a little bit. Now I wanna seat the head back on, okay? If you did number your lugs on the head, just make sure the numbers are lining up with the lugs this time. Okay, of course, first thing we wanna do, as in the other videos as well, we wanna make sure these are all finger tight. So I'm gonna start on 1 and 2. I'm gonna put the lugs in. I'm just gonna get them finger tight. Now I'm doing 5 and 6, 4 and 3. All right, now I'm spinning around to make sure they're all finger tight, which is as tight as you can tighten them with just your fingers, not using the tools yet. That feels good. So now I'm gonna grab our tune bot and our drum key, and let's see where we're at. So I'm clamping on the tune bot. I'm gonna hit the power button, which is the red button on the tune bot. Let's see where this lug is at. 87, we have to go to 220. So I'm gonna definitely give these a quarter turn each just to start off. So the first lug, a quarter turn. Second lug, quarter turn. Third lug, quarter. Fourth lug, quarter turn. Fifth lug, quarter turn. Sixth lug, quarter turn. Quarter turn, if you're on a clock, we're turning it from 9 o'clock till 12 or from 6 o'clock till 9. All right, let's see where we're at now. All right, it says 179, so we're getting pretty close. All right, let me try giving these a little bit over 1/8 of a turn now to get to 220. So that was 1/8 of a turn on each. Now we're at 251. Let's make sure we're going for 220. Yep. All right, that's 250, so we need to back off a little bit. I'm gonna back off and then I'm gonna give it a tighten, just like we would guitar strings. 223, we're getting very close. All right, that locked in at 220, so then I'm gonna hit this triangle button on the tune bot, which basically is gonna lock into 220, and it says, I want 220 to be my pitch at this point. So now when I hit the lugs, it won't read me a frequency, it'll just tell me how far off I am from 220. If it says 0.5, that's close enough. All right at 220. You know, it's interesting with especially drums like this. This is a Pearl Forum series, nothing crazy special, but whenever you start tuning this, you'll notice that like 5 out of the 6 lugs will say that they're right at 220, but then one lug, it'll be 2 or 3 hertz away from where it's supposed to be. And just by adjusting that hertz that's off, now all the other lugs have to be adjusted. Because what we're trying to do is we're trying to evenly distribute how much tension there is at each lug. So it can be a little bit of hunt and peck, but it's nice to know when the tune bot tells you you're correct. So let's flip it over. Now for the batter side, we need 146, but the first thing we want to do is take all the lugs off and then get it finger tight. For the top one, if you're OCD about this, you might want to try to line up the top logo of the drum head so that if you're sitting at the drum set, the logo is right side up. If you're OCD about that, now's the time to do it. I believe the sizes we're dealing with here is a 12-inch rack tom, a 14-inch snare drum, and a 16-inch floor tom. Could be wrong about that, but I believe those are the measurements. All right, let's go around and give these a quarter turn before we grab the tune bot. Let's see where we're at. Power on. This is 137, so we're very close. I'm gonna lock in 147. Close enough. Okay, so this is the same microphone that was clamped on earlier. That way you're not just hearing my lapel mic. All right, let's give this rack tom a hit. Now some of those flutterations is probably not the technical way here, is this floor tom sitting next to it, but that sounds a whole lot better than it used to. I do have these tuned very low, so again, if you want to reference the drum frequency chart, I have that in the description below, a link to my Google Drive. In just a little bit, we'll deal with some of that sustain, because I know as a drummer, you probably don't like hearing so much sustain, but we have some tricks to do that I will show you in just a minute, okay? So I'm gonna grab my tuning key and go around with this floor tom. I'm taking the bottom head off. All right, now with the floor tom, these things are notorious for having way too much sustain. They basically turn into timpanis. And if you remember my kick drum video, the more you try to raise the pitch of these larger drums, you're just gonna keep adding to the amount of body. And body is good, but we don't need these standing waves. Just like you would put up acoustic treatment in your studio or in your drum room, you need some sort of acoustic material for these entry-level drum kits, okay? So here's a trick. This is a piece of felt that we just happen to have. And what I've done is I've placed 4 holes in it, and I've tried to cut the felt so that it's relatively the same height and width as my floor tom. Inside of the drums, I don't know the technical term for these, but you can see inside we have some screws. I believe I would call these lug screws. Okay, all around the drum there are lug screws. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna grab a Phillips head screwdriver, and I'm gonna start with just any lug on the top nearest to the bottom of the drum. I'm gonna take the screw completely out. Okay, once it's out, it actually has a washer as part of it, and that's gonna help hold this in place. But basically what we're gonna try to do is we're gonna take this piece of felt and we're gonna stretch it across the inside of the drum. But the most important thing is we don't want this felt to be touching either the top or the bottom of the drum, okay? So I put it through this hole, and I'm basically mounting this piece of felt inside of my floor tom. Okay, I'm gonna stretch it across. I'm gonna take out one of the screws at the top. Okay, insert through the hole. I don't want too much tension on the felt, but just enough to keep it from touching the top or bottom head, okay? You might be able to finger tighten these. Now I'm gonna take the lug screws that are furthest away or closer to the batter side of the drum and mount it to that. And the last one. All right. Now as you can see, we have a piece of felt suspended inside the floor tom, just out of reach of the drum heads. So we don't want the felt to necessarily mess with our tuning, but we do want to knock down the sustain that's inevitably going to happen, okay? Come for the tuning and stay for the drum hacks. I'm putting the reso head back on, and I'm just going to get all the lugs finger tight. All right, now that they're finger tight, it's like we're going for 176 on the bottom, 176. So I'm gonna go around and give a quarter turn. Let's see where we're at. I'll use the tune bot. 104, let's give another quarter turn. 149, let's go an eighth turn. 170, that's close enough. That one's 176, let's lock in. All right, I'm gonna set the floor tom on my drum throne just so I can deaden the bottom. And let's get these lugs loosened and then finger tight. All right, we are now finger tight. I'm gonna go around and give a quarter turn. Let's see where we're at. All right, 79, we need to go to 134. Let me give a quarter turn. I'm gonna take the legs off because I believe I'm hearing the bottom of the drums still. So I'm gonna take the legs off and set this on the floor. 127. 127. Okay, let's put the legs back on and hear what we've got. Rarely have I ever seen a floor tom that doesn't need some sort of moon gel or tape. Don't feel defeated if you have to do this, but I'm just gonna take the moon gel, put it about an inch off of the rim near the microphone. Let's hear what that does to the sustain. Kind of a beast, okay? You can also do some stuff with the legs if you need to, but let's hear the two together. All right, I hope you enjoyed this video. I have a lot of fun making these videos and stuff, so if you enjoy music lessons and tips and you want to see more, please hit the subscribe button, and I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.